Game 1 between the LA Dodgers and the Miami Marlins was supposed to be a straightforward early-season matchup between two competitive MLB teams. Instead, it became one of the most talked-about games of the year, and not entirely for the reasons anyone expected. Yes, there was great pitching. Yes, there were clutch hits, but what happened in the middle of this game left fans at the stadium speechless, sent shockwaves across social media, and forced MLB itself to take action. A moment so controversial, so far outside the boundaries of acceptable play, that it sparked a league-wide conversation about sportsmanship, player safety, and the limits of competitive aggression. Yoshinobu Yamamoto stepped onto the mound to open the game, and he was absolutely dialed in from pitch 1. 3 Marlins batters stepped into the box in the first inning. 3 Marlins batters walked back to the dugout without reaching base. That kind of clean, efficient first inning might seem routine on paper, but it is anything but routine in a game at this level. When your starting pitcher comes out and immediately establishes control, command, and confidence, it sends a message not just to the opposing team but to your own offense waiting in the dugout. It says, "We've got this. Now go do your job." And that is exactly what the Dodgers offense went out and did. Shohei Ohtani leading off for the Dodgers. If you have watched this team play at all this season, you already know how important that role is. Ohtani is not just a talented player, he is a game changer. The kind of player whose presence at the plate immediately changes the mental calculation of every pitcher facing him. Miami's starter Chris Paddock tried to work him with a changeup, a smart pitch selection designed to disrupt timing and generate weak contact, but Ohtani read it perfectly. He tracked the ball all the way, stayed back just long enough, and drove a clean single to right field. When a player like Ohtani reaches base in the first inning, it is not just a single. It is a psychological event. The pitcher has to worry about the steal, the infield has to shift, the catcher has to call pitches with a runner in mind. Everything gets more complicated for the opposing team. Freddie Freeman stepped in next and kept the pressure on with a hit to center field. It was not a thunderous highlight reel shot, but it did not need to be. It was precise, well-timed, and it did exactly what it needed to do. It advanced Ohtani around the bases and pushed the Marlins' defense even further into a reactive position. The Dodgers were rolling. The crowd was buzzing. Everything was set up perfectly for a big inning. And then everything stopped. What happened next is the moment this game changed completely. Not just in terms of the scoreboard, but in terms of what it meant for player safety, sportsmanship, and the standards that MLB holds itself to. After Freddie Freeman's hit dropped in, Ohtani immediately broke into a full sprint towards second base. This is smart, aggressive base running, exactly what you want from your leadoff man. He was reading the play perfectly, pushing the defense, trying to extend the scoring opportunity as far as possible. At this point, everything Ohtani was doing was textbook baseball. He was fast, he was alert, he was playing the game the right way. And then Xavier Edwards happened. Edwards, the Marlins' second baseman, moved into Ohtani's path. Here's the critical detail that every analyst, every former player, and every informed fan immediately noticed. Edwards was not in position to receive a throw. He was not set up to make a legal tag. There was no baseball play developing that required him to be where he was. His movement toward Ohtani was not defensive. It was deliberate. Edwards used his hand, his actual hand, to strike Ohtani as he came sprinting in. The contact sent Ohtani off balance. He lost his footing and went down to the ground in visible pain. This is Shohei Ohtani, one of the greatest baseball players on the planet. A two-way superstar who has redefined what it means to play this sport. And he was knocked to the ground not by a hard slide, not by a legitimate defensive play, but by a deliberate, unprovoked act of physical aggression in the middle of a Major League Baseball game. The stadium went silent for a moment, then the outrage came. Fans were on their feet, not cheering, reacting. Some were shouting, some were stunned into silence, because what they had just witnessed was not baseball, it was not competition. It was not even aggressive gamesmanship within the lines of acceptable play. What they saw was a player being physically attacked on a baseball field. From a rules standpoint, this is crystal clear. In baseball, deliberate obstruction of a runner, especially using direct physical contact with no baseball play occurring, is not only against the rules, it is one of the most serious violations an infielder can commit. You cannot put your hands on a runner who is legally running the bases. Full stop. But beyond the rulebook, there's a code in professional sports. An unwritten understanding that exists between competitors that no matter how fierce the rivalry, no matter how high the stakes, you do not intentionally put another player's health and career at risk. Edwards crossed that line, clearly, deliberately, and in front of millions of people watching across the country. Within minutes, clips were circulating on social media. Sports analysts were already weighing in on television. The hashtags were trending, and the question on everyone's mind was the same. What is MLB going to do about this? The first priority, understandably, was Ohtani himself. Dodgers medical staff rushed onto the field immediately after Ohtani went down. He was examined on the spot while teammates and coaches surrounded him with concern. For several anxious minutes, nobody in that stadium knew just how serious the situation was. Fortunately, Ohtani was not seriously injured. He was able to get back up and continue playing. But the fact that he was not hurt does not reduce the severity of what Edwards did, not even slightly. Intentions matter, actions matter, and what Edwards did was intentional, physical, and completely outside the boundaries of this sport. Manager Dave Roberts did not wait long to make his feelings known. In his post-incident statement, Roberts was direct and unambiguous. He called Edwards' action unacceptable and made clear that this was not a situation the Dodgers were going to let slide quietly. He called on MLB to open a formal investigation not just for the sake of his team but for the integrity of the game itself. Roberts made the point that baseball is not just about winning and losing. It is about competition with mutual respect. It is about pushing each other to be better within the rules of the game. The moment you step outside those rules and start using physical force against opponents, you are not competing anymore. Alex Rodriguez, speaking on television shortly after the incident, was unequivocal in his assessment. Rodriguez made clear that whatever did was damaging not just to Ohtani, not just to the Dodgers, but to the image and reputation of Major League Baseball as a whole. He called for the league to step in and send a strong message. MLB moved relatively quickly. Xavier Edwards was suspended for 2 games. The league also announced that a deeper investigation was underway, leaving the door open for additional discipline if the evidence confirmed intentional misconduct. Many people, including a significant portion of Dodgers fans and the broader baseball community, felt it was not enough. When you physically knock down a player of Ohtani's stature in a deliberate and unprovoked way, 2 games feels like a light consequence. The investigation continuing, however, suggests MLB is not closing the book on this. After everything, the incident, the chaos, the anger, the worry about Ohtani, the Dodgers did not fall apart. They did not let the controversy derail their focus or disrupt their rhythm. Instead, they did what elite teams do. They channeled the emotion into execution. Teoscar Hernandez stepped into the box and delivered. A precise, well-placed single to center field, the kind of hit that does not make the highlight reel on its own, but in the right moment, in the right situation, it is everything. His pitch selection was sharp. His composure was outstanding. 2 runners scored just like that, Dodgers up 2-0. That is a statement, not just on the scoreboard, but as a team. Saying, "You tried to knock us down, we are still standing, and we are still scoring." It was the kind of response that great teams make. And it set the tone for everything that followed. Dave Roberts has been raising important questions about how the Dodgers plan to use Shohei Ohtani going forward, and these questions matter far beyond the single game. Roberts has indicated that the team is actively considering the possibility of having Ohtani focus exclusively on pitching against the Marlins, rather than handling both his pitching and hitting duties in the same game as he usually does. The Dodgers coaching staff is thinking very carefully about Ohtani's long-term physical condition. Early in a long MLB season, managing a two-way player's workload is an incredibly delicate balancing act. You are not just managing a pitcher's arm. You are also managing a hitter's timing, his bat speed, his energy levels, his recovery between games. Multiply all of that together and you are dealing with a level of physical and mental demand that no other player in the league faces. On top of all that, Ohtani is being moved onto a tighter 5-day rest cycle between pitching starts. Previously, the Dodgers had been more generous with the rest they gave him between outings, deliberately extending the gaps to protect his arm and allow fuller recovery. Returning to a 5-day rotation is a real test, especially for a player also batting leadoff every single day. Roberts has been very clear about his philosophy. Every decision involving Ohtani is not about what maximizes one individual game. It is about what protects his ability to perform at a high level across the entire stretch of games ahead. Even with all of these adjustments being considered, Roberts confirmed that if Ohtani is in the lineup as a batter, he stays at leadoff. Because the Dodgers believe that Ohtani's ability to set the tempo of a game from the very first at bat is too valuable to move around in the order. Even when he is not at his absolute peak, Ohtani at the top of the lineup changes how opposing pitchers and managers think. To understand where the Dodgers are heading with Ohtani, you need to look at what happened in his last outing against the New York Mets. For the first time in approximately 5 years, Ohtani did not pick up a bat during a game he was also pitching. He stepped into that game purely as a pitcher. No hitting duties, no lineup spot, just pitching. Freed from the mental and physical demands of also preparing to hit, Ohtani was able to channel everything, every ounce of focus, energy, and preparation into his pitching performance. And it showed. 6 innings on the mound, 2 hits allowed, 1 run, 10 strikeouts. 10 strikeouts in 6 innings is not just a good outing. That is dominance. That is a pitcher who has complete command of the strike zone and complete control over opposing hitters. The Mets batters, a solid, experienced lineup, simply could not keep up with him. His fastball was coming in with exceptional velocity. His slider was breaking sharply and late. His splitter was dropping out of the zone at exactly the right moment to generate swings and misses. The combination of those 3 pitches, thrown with that kind of precision and intent, is essentially unfair. Batters knew what was coming in terms of the pitch types and still could not hit it. That is what elite-level pitching looks like. This performance proved something the Dodgers coaching staff had perhaps wondered about but never fully tested, that when Ohtani is freed from the responsibilities of hitting, he does not just pitch well. He pitches at a level that approaches the absolute best in baseball. The Dodgers already have one of the most dangerous offenses in the league. They are not relying on Ohtani's bat to win games on most nights. But having the option, the strategic flexibility, to deploy him as a pure pitcher in key matchups is an enormous weapon. It means the Dodgers can look at a specific opponent, assess the situation, and make the calculation. Do we need Ohtani the hitter today, or do we need Ohtani the pitcher? And either answer leads to a legitimate advantage. That kind of tactical flexibility is rare in baseball, and it makes the Dodgers a more dangerous and unpredictable team as a result. When Ohtani is fully locked in, when every bit of his concentration is pointed at one role, he reaches a level that very few pitchers in the history of this sport can match. The Marlins and every other team on the schedule should be paying very close attention.